Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this video I have for you Lossa versus ArturoDiaz in round 3 of the first Steel Division 2 Championship. After the 8 games in round 2 we have now moved on to the quarterfinals, but you may notice that we haven't seen Lossa before. That's because he's subbing in for Herr Robert in this game. But Lossa is going to be using the 9th Cavalry on the Soviet side with the Vanguard deployment type, and in this game on the Axis side we have ArturoDiaz with the 5th Panzer using the balanced deployment type. And they're going to be playing on Gora, Kalwaria. And Gora Kalwaria is probably one of the prettiest maps in the game. It's absolutely beautiful, but strategically it's actually quite an interesting map as well. There's all of these bridges that go all the way down. They do create choke points, but there is opportunities on both sides to gain ground across the bridges at the start. So for the Axis side in this case, you can come down this bottom side road and get a foothold in the trees down here. Whereas on the Soviet side, you can push across to this town very early on. And holding both of those for each player is very important so that you can funnel more troops to the other side of the river without being caught out across these bridges, which in the mid to late game will be covered by plenty of AT, I'm sure. Either way, let's have a look at what each player is putting down. Lossa over on this side with his Night Guards has got the Sapari there, the Osnaz Snipari, which are the snipers. There's going to be the Kaz PTRS, so limited forces for the top side. Further down with 2 more Sapari PPSH with 2 standard Sapari with the HE shells, or HE grenades I guess, and an SU-76M. Interesting starting choice there. Further down we see 2 Osnaz Sapari, and then we have 2 Kazaki PPSH followed by 2 more standard Kazaki and 4 2-star Emchers, these M4 Shermans. Further down we see the Osnaz Snipari PPSH following those up. So these Sapari PPSH, I've actually removed them from most of my divisions just because I don't feel like they are worth too much anymore since they lost their HE. They have become very lackluster, but they are good for taking territory early and then ambushing enemy forces. So for example, if these Sapari manage to get into, say, one of these buildings before the enemy arrive, then the enemy will be forced to unload like in the open whilst the Sapari are in cover, and that way they can do some damage at least. Anyway, let's take a look over on ArturoDiaz's side. The 5th Panzer is generally known for being quite an expensive division, so let's see what he's actually chosen to bring in. Pak 36 here, nice cheap AT gun, followed up by Flammenwerfer and MG42 on the top side with a 250-10 recon vehicle. Further down we see another 250-10 recon vehicle with a Panzer Grenadier. There's going to be a Pak 36 in front of that, another Panzer Gren, 2 Flammenwerfer there, and an MG42. At the centre, another 250-10 half-track with Pak 36 MG42. 2 Flammenwerfer, 2 Panzer Grens, one with a Panzerfaust. Then we got MG42, Pak 36, same deal, pretty much across the board. Panzer Gren with and without Panzerfausts. And then Flammenwerfers, 259 accompanying the 250-10 on the bottom. So this 250-10 is going to be looking to snipe some transports as they come across the bridge. Ooh, does take out one straight off the bat. I think that was the sniper squad going down there. Oh, and a second one going as well. Pak 36, oh, takes out a third. That's 3 infantry squads down. We saw the Sapari on the top side also getting sniped as well. These 250-10s have already paid themselves off. That is incredible. Lossa there getting too big for his boots. Damn, another transport just went down. That is horrific for Lossa at the start of the game. He has just completely lost his push here. These 250-10s completely catching him off guard. The great thing about the 250-10s is they have fantastic rate of fire, 12 round per minute rate of fire, and tons of ammo as well. They also have HE shells, so they can even pin down the units that get unloaded. And you can see here on this top side, like the MG42, the Panzer Grens, they're going to end up killing the Sapari on the bridge, which is actually going to give 13-11 to Arturo at the start. On the bottom here, Kazaki SVT bump into the Flammenwerfer and the Panzer Grens. They're probably going to get pinned down and surrendered instantly. Lossa has really had a tough start, but he still has all of his M4s pushing across in the center. And they are just fast moving straight across that bridge, supported by the Kazaki at distance. and the Kazaki PPSH, but there is of course a Panzer Grenadier here with a Panzerfaust, and that may do plenty of damage. The 250-10 is shooter killed for now. Did manage to get into cover though. Let's see if this Panzer Grenadier can do its job. If it misses, that could be disaster actually. It fired, managed to get the engine damage. It didn't actually get the kill. Now these M4s, they are on an attack move order, but they're firing at the wrong unit. That's awkward. Arturo does manage to get his unit back. He's reloaded his Panzerfaust. He's going to fire again. Misses with the second Panzerfaust there. That is... oh, that is so unfortunate for Arturo. Bringing in some Panzergrens to get on top of these Osnas Saperi. These Osnas Saperi at close range though will be able to take on the Panzergrens due to those HE. Lossa's just going to try and get away from these Panzergrens as quickly as possible, but ultimately I'd like to see him try and pin down this Panzergren and take them out. He could definitely go for a surrender there if he gets the pin. Meanwhile on the bottom side, Panzergrens are getting the better of the Kazaki. The Kazaki just getting overwhelmed completely by Panzer Grenadiers, completely outmatched. And technically the Kazaki are cheaper, but Panzergrens with those two MG42s certainly making up for the cost difference. This MG42 in a bit of a tough spot in front of 4 M4s. The Osnas Saperi do manage to take care of the Panzergren as expected, but here comes a Pak 40. Only one of the M4s is actually firing at the Pak 40 right now, but that is going to allow the Pak 40 to get 1 kill. Can the M4s clean that up? If they can, then there could be potential for a lot of ground to be taken in the center. Lossa is going to be reinforcing this very quickly. He's pushing straight in towards this town where the Panzergrens are already pinned down, and we do see the Su-76M being used to pin down this area. So what was pretty disastrous start for Lossa has been recovered very well so far with this concentrated push in the center, and his Vanguard deployment type is going to allow him to make up for his early losses. Now ultimately a lot of the infantry that he did lose, especially on this bridge, was pretty cheap, but ultimately it's still not something you want to be losing at the early game like that. Like, just free kills is never something you want to give away. But ultimately, look at this. Oh, he's absolutely demolishing the infantry of Arturo in the center and getting a very solid foothold across the middle bridge here, which is important because he should hold this from the start of the game anyway. The Pak 36 is finding some side shots here onto the M4, but now the M4 is showing front armor. I think that Pak 36 is going to go down. But Arturo's responded with a Tiger. Lossa's going to want to keep these M4s out of line of sight, but that engine damage is not going to help it get out of the way anytime soon. And because they all had criticals already, they're all actually pretty weak. So it's only going to take 1 shot from the Tiger to kill each one. Anyway, meanwhile, Arturo's still pushing on this bottom side. I like this aggression from Arturo. He knows he has an advantage down here, so he's certainly trying to make the most of it. The Kazaki, once again, getting outmatched by the Panzergrens, and then the Flammenwerfer comes in there just to tip that even further in Arturo's favour. So going to grab even more ground there. Lossa has brought in some reinforcements just to hold the ground for the time being, but things are currently 12-12 after what was a very explosive start to this game. It's going to be even more explosive as this M4 gets shot in the side armour by a Tiger potentially. Never mind, not quite yet. 250-10 just blasting that into the front armour. This Tiger's too busy dealing with the M4s down the road. Damn, just free kills for days. Look at that fire away onto those poor infantry. It's now finally going to move through the garden there. 250-10 is just critting it to death as well. Shooter knockout once again. Here goes the Tiger. Boom goes the M4. We do see the M4 moving into the top side here to support the Kazaki PPSH, but the Kazaki actually got caught out in the open. 2 squads of them just went down very quickly there. These do have Panzerfaust. The M4 has to get away from that, but with the artillery coming in, the Flammenwerfer's firing, he actually has his M4 pinned down, and that may have actually been the Panzerfaust shot catching up to him, as we do see the Panzerfaust was used. Now the Tiger has got shots onto this bridge now. That's going to be very, very bad news for these M4s. 250-10 providing side shots, does get the kill actually onto one of the M4s, whilst the Tiger does the big damage there Wow, that's pretty much all of the M4s taken care of in the center. Now Lossa trying to rely on his T-34 76 1943s. I'm a big fan of the 1943 T-34s. 45 points a pop, 2 machine guns, HE, great for just demolishing infantry and gaining ground quickly due to their fast speed. I think they are a little bit faster than the Shermans as well. But either way, Tiger now moving up to cover the top bridges. We've got a Tiger in the center, which is currently transmission damaged. Panzer IV coming up to support that now. But once these Tigers get set up, and Arturo pushes Lossa out of these buildings, Arturo is going to have a consistent advantage in the center and top side of the map, mainly due to these flags being in the open, which the Tigers can control very well. Whereas on the bottom side, Lossa, this is where he's going to have the advantage with his abundance of infantry. He might not have the quality of infantry, but he certainly has a lot of them. These Kazaki SVT 15 points a pop. And the T-34-76 really just wrecking this infantry, although that trade there with the 1943 is not too great. Lag 3 coming in with a rocket strike just to allow this Kazaki SVT to get the better of the Panzergrands, and that is some smart work by Lossa to make a push back on this bottom side. The 250-10 here, with its low amount of armor, gets popped off by these PTRDs, and again the T-34-76 is coming in at close range to help clean up infantry. Nicely done by Lossa, as he does lose the center. But as I mentioned before, it's going to be very, very difficult for Lossa to maintain a ranged armor engagement versus the 5th Panzer as the game goes on, especially with a balanced deployment type versus the Vanguard. The Vanguard wants to make ground in Phase A, and it seems as though Lossa is trying desperately to make that happen, but has struggled to do so far. Arturo just about managing to hold on, and now sets himself up on his side of the river with his heavy armor, and it's going to be increasingly difficult for these bridge objectives to be contested by Lossa. So Lag 3 now coming in, looking for the rocket strike onto these AT guns. Really nice positioning of these AT guns, actually. I'm not too familiar with the 1v1 variant of this map, but that is a beautiful placement. If you go into this light cover, I assume you might be able to almost shoot up this road. We're going to take care of that Pak 36, Pak 40 now in position at the front side of the river. 259s, they can definitely do a lot of damage to the Kazaki SVTs, but not necessarily the Kazaki, because the PTRD might get the better of them. It depends which fires first. If the 259s manage to get some shots on target, the Kazaki get pinned down very fast by the 20 mils. But there we go. That's the shot down the road I was talking about. The T-34-76 goes down. Pak 40 does the job. Wonderful placement there. So just trying to control this push from Lossa. It's currently cancelling out the flags. If Arturo can prevent any more ground being taken on this bottom side, then he can stabilize and basically play for the late game at this point. Ooh, 45mm AT gun hiding on this side of the river. Tries to have a go at the Tiger E, doesn't quite find the shot there, gets obliterated by MG42s immediately. This Tiger currently being shot in the side armor, I assume, by the 45. Thankfully for Arturo, does face the frontal armor and will be okay for the time being. TU-2S did come in on the bottom side for the bombing strike. Did that take out the Pak 40? It did indeed, yeah, went for that bombing strike there. And we can see the Kazaki here with the PTRDs getting the better of the 259 as expected. So this one T-34-76 that is left is accompanying these Kazaki and trying to make a little bit of a push. But with the Panzer IV on its way, that's going to stop any infantry from coming across the river, unless Lossa can match that with an AT gun potentially. I guess the way to do it is maybe moving into Phase B. I think the 9th Cav has access to a few Assist 2s, so bringing those in and sticking them in the light cover here and the heavy cover might be a way to break down any Panzer IVs and Tigers that come in, until of course Arturo invests in artillery to get rid of them, basically. Nice rocket strike again from the lag. It looks like Arturo's had enough of these lags though. Going to be bringing in a Pak Flak 43 to stop those in the future, but now the lag going to be attacking the top side instead. We do see that the Tiger here was dealt with. Nicely done. I'm assuming that one of these T-34s showed itself to the Tiger. It showed side armor to the AT gun, and then the AT gun got the kill. Something like that. Either that way round, or maybe the T-34 got the kill. One of the two. We do see that the Panzer 4H with the 2-star veterancy does get the better of the T-34. And now these infantry squads are in a bit of trouble, because it's now Arturo that has his infantry supported by armor, whilst Lossa does not. So although he does have the PTRDs, they're going to be struggling to penetrate Panzer IVs at range. And that's a big problem that he's going to have to deal with, especially considering the infantry are going to be pinning down the infantry as well. The Kazaki won't even have time to fire the PTRD in the first place, and that's just what happened there. The Panzergrens and the Pioneers pinned down the infantry, the 259 plus the Panzer IV helping with their machine guns, takes out those infantry squads very quickly indeed, and it looks as though Arturo has almost found exactly what he needs here in order to break down Lossa's infantry and take back these flags on the bottom side, giving himself the advantage once again. Taking this flag will put it 13 to 11, taking the flag on the other side of the river we'll push it 14 to 10. Pack 40 here in position to just pin down the infantry as they come across the river for the time being. But that is ultimately there to break down the T-34s on the top side. But I think Arturo is going to be pretty comfortable with a 14 to 10, especially moving through Phase B here. Also already at a disadvantage in terms of income. Arturo currently running 140 points per minute. Lossa on the 120. Flag 3, going to get the rocket strike onto the Pack 40. Lovely stuff. Takes out the Pack 40 for good. He only lost one T-34 to that. Wonder how many more he has left though. He's got a couple more M4s coming in on this bottom side to support a push. Kazaki moving in to secure this flag. Because both of these infantry squads are down on this bottom side, it's allowing a salient to capture this flag for the time being. We're just pushing the 14 to 10. This 259, supported by Panzergrens, will probably find this Kazaki SVT in the end, and there's nothing the Kazaki SVT can do against the 259s unless they get within the 60-meter range. And I've talked about them briefly before, but every infantry squad in the game does have a 60-meter grenade that they can use versus open-top vehicles. And if I just press I and bring up the information panel for the 259, you can see that the weak top armor basically allows those grenades to do their work. So Lag 3 there, coming in with a rocket strike onto the Tiger E. Currently I believe these Flak 43s are slightly too far back to get the kills onto these Lag 3s. Ultimately, if he moved them further forwards, he could incorporate them with his leaders and definitely make them more lethal. Panzergrens and Pioneers completely free to move through this bottom side. The Kazaki SVT have been dealt with. There is just one Kazaki in the way now. TU2S has come in looking for the bombing strike onto potentially the MG42 there. Does find the kill. Not going to get shot down. These TU2Ss are actually pretty damn resilient. You can see it barely took any damage from all the fire there from the Flak 43. But of course the Flak 43s still don't have that veterancy I was talking about. Battlefjord is coming in to support the center of the map. Big old line of Panzergrens here. I think Arturo is going to want to have a unit move forwards potentially and take the flag on the bridge. If he can control that bridge objective plus the objective on the bottom side, I think that causes the 2-tick, which will shorten the victory timer by half. So we can see these two Shermans getting into position here. They are currently engaging the Panzergren. Pack 36 is not really going to be able to do much unless it finds a side shot against these M4s. Panzer IV is also in position there, but Tiger's ultimately going to be the worst enemy for these M4s throughout the game. Lag 3 lost its target by the looks of things. Going to take a little bit of fire from the Flak 43. Might get forced to fall back if it takes a bit more damage. I'm not sure I'd be comfortable throwing that back into the fire for the time being. These 122 mils, they are coming in from Lossa. Looks like he's going to be using them for artillery. There is potential for the A19s to be used as AT guns. It's not very common to see, but it is one AT option that the 9th Cav does have to deal with things like Tiger E's. Of course, Lossa does also have these IS-2s I was talking about earlier. A couple of those on the bottom side would have maybe stopped the Panzer IVs from breaking through, but I don't think the timing was quite right, because he was only like 1 minute into phase 2, or phase B, sorry, at that point. So he wouldn't have had time to run the IS-2s to the front line before the attack came through, and so therefore has lost control really for the time being. The Kazaki actually, just getting the loader kill there, does allow the 259 to get off a magazine of its 20mm. That's pretty nasty, because those Kazaki took a lot of damage and now they're taking even more from the Panzergrens, especially since they are pinned down. But the Kazaki in the trees there, gonna have a chance to pop that. They do indeed. The rockets from the Lag 3 actually miss. This one probably won't though. Great job with these Lag 3s just to pin down and kill off important units so far by Lossa. Very much approve of his use of those lags. They've been working so far for sure, but he is in a bit of a predicament. I'm assuming these 122 mils are going to be used onto the heavy armor at range. They do have radios available, so he can use corrected shot, but he's going to need leaders on the front line to make use of that, and currently he doesn't have any, so these 122 mils are not going to have corrected shot, and that's a big difference in aim time. Now Pioneers coming up against Kazaki here is not good news also for Lossa. Pioneers with their HE grenades are going to easily kill Kazaki. And with the Panzergrens coming to help, we'll definitely pin them down very fast indeed. Another Pioneer unit following up. Arturo has just brought in every unit he needed, although I'm surprised that the Panzer IV and 259 are sat behind. Arturo's micro has been on point, but these guys definitely need to catch up. This Tiger E is currently covering this bridge, which is very nicely done. Oh, this Lag 3, that's surely going to go down. Yep, it is. Does manage to get the rockets onto the Tiger, but doesn't get the kill. The reason I knew that was going down is because this Flak 43 now has the 2-star veterancy from the commander. Once again, we can't see the command network due to watching these replays in the special viewer, but that will be giving extra veterancy to all of this infantry due to the Barrifjord there, and also the Tiger E-Fjord here providing veterancy to all of these Panzer Grenadiers. So, lock down the center for sure. It's now 15-9 for Arturo, and he's going to win in 9 minutes and 24 seconds. So Panzer IV now making an advance on the Kazaki here. I don't think the Panzer IV can see those Kazaki for a little bit. Has finally discovered them. With the machine guns on target plus the main gun, that Kazaki, unless it gets lucky, is probably very dead right now. Yeah, they are goners, and these Pioneers and Panzergrens with those MGs probably going to get the better of the Kazaki over time. The Kazaki do have Mosins and DPs at the end of the day, and they benefit more from being close due to the 3 submachine guns. That's going to be 2 units Pioneers and Panzergrens reinforcing on the bottom side. Really nice use of the Tu-2S there actually to clean up both of those infantry squads and save his Kazaki. So I think, you know, Lossa, he does have the right idea, and he's definitely been playing quite well, but Arturo just had an answer for everything that Lossa has done so far. This Kazradvedka's play is quite interesting, and these Pioneers are going to get the better of 1 squad at least, if not 2. It depends if Arturo allows this HE grenade to reload before he engages another one, because he can see 3 M3A1 Radvedkas here. Pretty much tells him there's 3 Kazradvedkas, since that's what he just came up against. But he's not going to allow that to reload, so the Pioneer goes down. 259 trying to get the better of these they're not half tracks, they're scout cars really, but either way, not going to happen. Lag 3 misses its rockets onto the 259, Panzer IV now on its way. So that's finally crossed the bridge, going up to clean up these scout cars. But still a big disparity on the bottom side, 14-10. Does have complete control Arturo, since Lossa is relying on this recon infantry right now. On the top side, we do see Lossa trying to make a little bit of a play. The Kazaki here were trying to get across the bridge, but obviously got unloaded early, probably by some shots from the Tiger, but also from the Pak-36 here that's currently having a go at the M4. It's going to struggle to penetrate the M4 from that range, especially if the frontal armor is showing. The Tu-2S is also coming in to bomb that, so I don't think that is long for this world, unless the Flak 43 can get a crit or enough stress onto the Tu-2S to stop that from dropping its bombs. But it did anyway, and well, the M4 did the job. So yeah, that bombing strike maybe a bit overkill onto that poor squad, but either way, job done. Panzer 4 having to go at the 2-star Sherman. 2-star Sherman's going to lose that engagement at maximum range engagements, or at least at longer range engagements. I find the Panzer 4s to be generally more reliable than the Shermans. At closer ranges, the Shermans generally win out due to their reduced aim time. But that's going to be it, actually. Lossa's going to surrender. And after 23 minutes and 2 seconds, Arturo takes the victory. And I think that surrender basically is just Lossa, with his game knowledge, realizing that at that point, he cannot really come back in that game unless Arturo throws it big time. Because playing Vanguard into balanced in Phase C is incredibly difficult, regardless of the fact that your opponent has Tigers and you have barely anything to deal with that. So really nice attempt from Lossa to gain an advantage in the early game. He did push that center very well, but I think the reason that he couldn't quite pull through in Phase A is due to the amount of transports he lost at the start. And that may be due to a little bit of map knowledge, a lack of map knowledge. This is quite a new map, and probably both players haven't played it that much. And it comes over time, like the positions where you can place troops without them being hit by AT guns. Like that is actually a thing in this game. Like knowing that sort of macro sort of knowledge is quite important, especially for your initial deployment and making sure that your troops don't go into places where they can potentially be killed before they unload. And in this case, Lossa, it looked like Arturo was on point with those 250-10s, just covering every single bridge, like right from the start. And Lossa tried to like cross too many of them and really got himself caught out. He couldn't like micro every single bridge at once because they're all moving across at the same time. And that really cost him a lot in the early game. There we go. In the end, I think that pretty much sums up the game in terms of how it went on both sides. 2,205 kills to 1,400 losses. Lossa, again, had a really strong sort of early game, but just not strong enough to hold enough ground and find a victory. Certainly some sort of sparks of brilliance with like the push on the bottom side whilst he was sort of losing the middle. I liked how both players honestly reacted on multiple sides of the map at once. That was really, really good to watch. Very sort of strong micro on both sides from these players. So Arturo, yeah, in the end, just losing quite a lot early on to these Shermans, but you can see nothing else really got a kill before there. This Tu-2S did really well. These Tu-2Ss are actually quite a nice thing that you can get in the 9th Cavalry. I think the 9th Cavalry is the only division that can get Tu-2Ss on the Soviet side at the moment, so that's cool. But in terms of losses, well, the Panzergrens certainly outshone a lot of the Kazaki. The 250-10s in the early game getting lots and lots of kills onto all of the Osnas Sapari squads. I mean, the Sapari PPSH, they're like 10 points apiece, right? So it doesn't really matter. But a Sapari squad is like, I don't know, 25 points or 30 points. Osnas Sapari, like 20 maybe. I'm not sure, but it does add up. As you can see, like these are all transport kills from the start of the game. You can tell because 250-10, 250-10, Pak-36, these don't have HE, so they can't kill that any other way. Then we see like the Panzergren just getting the better of stuff, and this Tiger E-Führer that was brought in the center cleaned up most of the Shermans. Now, of course, it's going to be very hard for Lossa to micro against that, but ultimately there are ways to have your Shermans just like hide at close range potentially, but didn't manage to clean out the Panzergrens with Panzerfaust, which stopped him from moving into the town to gain safe haven, basically. Because by the time he brought up some more infantry to try and clean those out, the Tiger had shots onto the bridge, and then obviously the infantry didn't make it in. So yeah, that was tough. Like Arturo put up a great fight at the start there against that Vanguard. But again, these Panzer guns just completely outshining the Kazaki. And that is one thing that definitely made a big difference throughout this game as well. But that's it. That is the first quarterfinal. Congratulations to ArturoDiaz. We'll be moving on to the semi-finals. But we'll find out who he is playing against in the next game, which is going to be Frublord versus ZZ. So look forward to that. In the meantime, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.